Strange, but true stories. Tales from the light side, the dark side, and the other side. I'm Steve White. Earlier this week, we told you a story about a mom in Oregon being replaced by a stand-in before being returned a few months later. This episode, we continue the mom theme with an unnerving story submitted to us by a viewer like you about a young boy having a scary encounter with his doppelganger mom. I am normally a huge skeptic and always believe that there may be some reasonable explanation for everything. Yet despite that, I have had more bizarre experiences in my life than I would have liked. Despite them all, this experience to me is one of the most chilling, and one that I still do not have an answer for to this day. I would like to get to understand this at some point in my life, so if anybody can help, I would be appreciative. Growing up, I loved the movie Toy Story, and I've seen it more times than I can count. My mother called me Woody after the main character in the movie, and it was also one of my first words. She would joke around and pretend to be a monster and come around to give me a big bear hug from behind. We had a great time, and all of that was harmless fun. In 2007, I was 9 years old, and I had a normal childhood fear of ghosts and aliens, except for the ones in the claw machine at the Pizza Planet, of course. This one particular day, I had been over at my friend's house. We talked about aliens and other weird stuff because we were interested in the strange and unknown. He always talked about weird, shadowy figures, but I mainly ignored him. I remember talking to my mom after I got home that day about these shadowy figures he talked about, and she told me it was all nonsense. Then she said to get in the car because she needed to go to the grocery store. In typical mom fashion, she told me if I was good, she would take me to Burger King afterwards. Silly, I know, but it was a big motivator for me. When we were in the grocery store, she accidentally hit my foot with the cart. I screamed and cussed at her because it hurt, and I kept going on and on about it. Well, that didn't go over very well, and she said because of that, I wasn't going to get Burger King now. I remember getting so mad at her because I thought that was completely unfair. When I got home, she told me that if I had just calmed down and not overreacted, I could have still gone to Burger King, but my refusal to calm down ended any chance at any special reward. I didn't want to talk to her for the rest of the night, so I went to my room to be alone. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't turn the lights on, but I left the door open, which allowed a good amount of light to filter in. I laid down on my bed, just thinking about things. And that's when it happened. Out of nowhere, it appeared. From the side of my bed, what seemed to be my mother appeared. And she was doing that monster voice as a joke. But she looked distinctly different. I couldn't see too well because it was still dark in my room, but I remember seeing this different, monster-like version of my mother. She had a much paler complexion. Her hair was grayer, and the weirdest thing of all was her eyes. They had no pupils. She said, "Come here, Woody." And I remember getting out of my bed and taking a few steps back, and then bolting out of my room and running for my life to the living room. This was not funny the way my mother was scaring me. But then I saw my mother in the kitchen, cleaning, looking completely normal. She looked at me, and she had pupils again. Her voice was fine. Her skin tone was its normal color again. Now I was super mad at her and screamed, "Why did you scare me like that?" Her face turned serious, and she asked me, "What are you talking about?" I told her about scaring me with some type of weird, pale makeup and the creepy voice. She didn't know what I was talking about, and she said she had been cleaning in the kitchen the entire time I was upstairs and not pulling any pranks. I asked her 1,000,000 times if it was her that scared me, and she answered 1,000,000 times no. I then realized it would have been impossible to have been her. She couldn't have been at the side of my bed and then beaten me back to the kitchen, remove all the creepy makeup, and then act like nothing happened. No way she could possibly move that fast. I turned on the light in the hallway, and then the light in my room. I looked around, and nothing was there. Where could that, whatever it was, have gone? Did I imagine it? My heart was pounding in my chest, and I knew I didn't jump up from bed and sprint out of my room for nothing. I heard it, and I remember getting a clear enough look at it as I was taking a few steps back towards the door before sprinting out of the room at cheetah speed. Let me ask you something. If you saw an apparition of your mother pop up beside your bed, would you just forget about it that easily? Sure, we've all been in a dark room and you hear something or you see something in a dark corner, but this creature was within a few feet of me when I encountered it. I went back to the kitchen and just sat there silently with my mom. Even though I was scared, I still did not want to talk to her. Yeah, I was that stubborn. But eventually, I did apologize for how I behaved earlier. I sat there for the longest time until I got tired, and I remember my mother putting me to bed. I asked her one last time if it was her that scared me, but she insisted once again that it wasn't. I haven't seen whatever that thing was ever again, but I still wonder what that was all about. I have had dreams about that entity, though. Even in my dreams, it was terrifying to relive. There was a time in 2017 I was having a dream about that night 10 years before, and it was like I was reliving that experience all over again. I woke up, and there was my mom. My real mom, that is. She had been out with friends and had just come in to say goodnight. She said that I began to shake violently and started to sweat out a waterfall. She was concerned. She asked me if everything was all right, and I told her I was fine. But I wondered. There had been no recent conflict with my mother, so why was I having this nightmare? Fortunately, I haven't had that dream since, and I haven't physically seen it since that weird day back in 2007. I still kick around the idea if that night, more than a decade ago now, was all in my head. But then I tell myself, no way something that terrifying, something that I could clearly hear and see, was just me being paranoid. My mother and I get along great. She's healthy and well, and I hope that I can continue a strong bond, love, and friendship with my mother without that you-know-what ever appearing again. Thank you for allowing me to share my story with you. It feels good to finally be able to get this out of my system. I would also like to thank your community of kind and generous supporters for allowing an open-minded environment where I can share my tale with others. I hope others may be able to provide some insight into what happened, or if there have been any other similar events to mine. This has been another strange but true story submitted to us by a subscriber to our channel. If you have any information you would like to share, send it to strangebutTrueStories2@gmail.com. We will forward on any helpful information to today's story sharer. That is also the email to send in your account of something strange and unexplainable that has happened in your life. Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below, and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, sign up for notifications so you know the minute a new episode drops to YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'm Steve White. Until next time.